it's very strange that there is a huge problem in the indigenous communities, that a lot of people still to this day go missing. Women and girls still go missing, and these stories just don't get out. So you can call me a skeptic when it comes to whitening systems such as strips and professional dental treatments, because number one, it's expensive, it takes too long, and my teeth end up very sensitive and hurt after the process. And so I just think, no, I'm not even going to give into it. I'm not even going to try it out. But recently I have given in to try snow whitening system. It comes with a light mouthpiece, 3 whitening wands, 1 extra strength whitening wand, and a tooth shade progress grater. All you have to do is brush your teeth, apply the serum, whiten, then rinse. It's even safe to use on caps, veneers, braces, and crowns and bridges. 97% of the people who use it see results just after 1 use. 100% see long-lasting results after just 21 days. And I can say that I am visibly seeing how on track I am to progress just as well. To get one of these kits, go to my link below. Get those chompers looking great by trying Snow Whitening System today.
Muchachos y muchachas. The other day, there was some news on 215 child remains that were discovered in British Columbia, all sourced from tied to a school by the name of Kamloops. And as I looked into it, this is only some recent news on those discoveries, but it looks to be that there is some history tied to this really mysterious happening of missing indigenous children, just without any explanation, just gone, just like that. So I wanted to get into some of these details just to document this and learn together about what is known about this and what is still mysterious about it. Now, I know that there is some suspicions in regards to the school and a particular royal entity. I am not going to go into that because there is only suspicions out there, and I need more concreteness on that matter. But by all means, if you guys want to discuss that and, put maybe some resources in the comments, maybe that's something I can revisit in a more exclusive piece. But for now, let's just look into some of the history of what is known about these particular indigenous children. So I'm going to go into the letter first that actually announced this discovery. And this is from Chief Roseanne Casimir, who actually pushed for answers on this matter. Now, there's some things that I can't necessarily pronounce, so I'm just going to say maybe the first 2 letters of it and, kind of set that acronym for it. So it is with a heavy heart that TSK, the Chief Roseanne Casimir, confirms an unthinkable loss that was spoken about but never documented by Kamloops Indian Residential School. This past weekend, with the help of a ground-penetrating radar specialist, the stark truth of the preliminary findings came to light. The confirmation of the remains of 215 children who were students of Kamloops Indian Residential School. Is the home community of the Kamloops Indian Residential School, which was the largest school in the Indian Affairs residential school system. As such, TS leadership acknowledges their responsibility to caretake for those lost children. And this is a statement from Chief Roseanne Casimir. We had knowing in our community that we were able to verify. To our knowledge, these missing children were undocumented deaths. Some were as young as 3 years old. We sought out a way to confirm that, knowing out of the deepest respect and love for those lost children and their families, understanding that TS is the final resting place of these children. I'm going to assume that that TS word is maybe the reservation or the community that they belong to. Forgive me if I got that wrong. This work was undertaken by the CSCX with the ceremonial knowledge keepers to ensure that the work was conducted respectfully in light of their serious nature of the investigation, with cultural protocols being upheld. Given that these lost loved ones are buried within the TS community, with all community members still grappling with the effects of the residential school, the chief and council first reached out to their community members to make them aware of the situation, albeit that it is still developing. They will continue to work with penetrating radar specialists to complete the survey of the former Kamloops Indian residential school grounds in undertaking this current investigation. Chief and council would like to acknowledge the preliminary work that was carried out in the early thousands with access to the latest technology and true accounting of the missing students will hopefully bring some peace and closure to the lost lives and their home communities. So these are some of the continuous engaging things that they will have to do. Engage with the coroner, reach out to the home communities who had children who attended Kamloops Indian Residential School, taking measures to ensure that the locations of the remains are protected, and then have a museum archivist to work with the Royal British Columbia Museum, amongst others, to seek out any existing records of these deaths. So, some context. This is where we're going to pivot into the historical context of this entire thing here. But the Truth and Reconciliation Commission noted that a large number of Indigenous children who were sent to residential schools never returned to their home communities. Some children ran away and others died at the schools. So why did children run away? We'll get into some of these claims of abuse in a little bit. And others died at the schools. The students who did not return have come to be known as the missing children. The Missing Children Project documents the deaths and the burial places of the children who died while attending schools. To date, more than 4,100 children who died while attending residential school have been identified. That's 4,000 out of thousands, I'm pretty sure. Now, just to elaborate, this commission that's set up, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, is set up to concretely identify those missing children to names, to identities of, maybe children that never returned back from school. So you guys might be wondering some context into the school, into the history of this school. This is another little piece that I'll read out. This is from CP24. And it states that Chief Casimir said that the nation is knowing about the missing children fueled the search. So this has been a long-running mystery. Her mother and grandmother shared stories of abuse at the school, and Casimir said that the community has pushed for answers on what happened to the students. So this was very widely known. I'm seeing a lot of different statements from, prior past students who actually attended the school. And these are some consistent claims about abuse, sexual abuse, that happened at Kamloops. And this is what one quote: "It's a harsh reality and it's our truth. It's our history and it's something we've always had to fight to prove. The results are preliminary, with the final report expected to be at the end of June, but more remains could be discovered," she added. The British of Columbia Coroner Service has been notified and more work to be carried out on the site. One residential school survivor has had flashbacks about this time at the institution since the discovery. Upper Nicola Band Chief Harvey McLeod attended the school from 1966 to 1968. He recalls speaking with his friends about children who were just gone one day. We talked. I mean, there had been something so habitual and nefarious going on, where just casual cases of missing children just popped up day by day. That one day their friend was there and one day they weren't. So something nefarious just smells fishy here. So he recalls speaking to his friends about children who were just gone one day. We talked among ourselves, the boys and I, my friends and I, we talked about saying that they probably ran away and we were happy that they probably got home. 𝘕𝘬𝘓 said that the discovery of the remains brought back memories of his time at school. I was shattered. I just broke. It broke me when I heard about it. He said in an interview, it was a secret, or it was something that we knew that we may have happened there, but we had no evidence. The school operated from 1890 and 1969. The federal government took over the facility's operation from the Catholic Church, and it ran it as a day school until it closed in 1978. Very curious that it mentions the Catholic Church. The National Truth and Reconciliation Commission has records of at least 51 children dying at the school between 1914 and 1963, and yet you have 215 bodies initially being discovered as of recently. We'll get into a little bit more about some similar discoveries around that area. So this is not the first time. The commission noted that in 2015, a report that officials in 1918 believed that children at the school were not being adequately fed, leading to malnutrition. The Crown Indigenous Relations Ministers said in a statement that the discovery is a reminder of the harms, families and survivors continue to suffer. So, and then it goes into apologies and all these things for that these Catholic officials have to say about all that. Now, some history into this. You might be wondering, why was there so many Indigenous children housed or boarded at this school? And look, I'll also pause before I go into this New York Times information bit to say that the problem with missing Indigenous people has always been there, and it exists today. It's not just this historical example of a boarding school that misplaced children or did something nefarious to children. It's very strange that there is a huge problem in the Indigenous communities, that a lot of people still to this day go missing. Women and girls still go missing, and it is muted. It is muffled by the mainstream, and these stories just don't get out because it's mostly those communities that speak of individual basis, but there aren't any massive efforts to recover, search and rescue these missing Indigenous people. It happens to this day. I don't know if it's some sort of ancestral thing. I don't know if it's, and I mean that in a spiritual sense, or if this is, really just a big problem that has never been addressed, but this still actually happens today. Let's jump back into the history of this. A horrible history, the mass grave of Indigenous children reported in Canada. And it says here, it's very brief, but it mentions that this is why there were so many children for decades. And this is from Ottawa. For decades, most Indigenous children in Canada were taken from their families and forced into boarding schools. A large number never returned home, their families given only vague explanations or none at all. That's very strange. So first we have another chief, Chief 𝘕𝘬𝘓, if you recall the statement I just read out to you, that he said that he would talk amongst his friends, his boys, and they would just chime in on, one day they would have a friend there, and one day they were just gone forever. And it's just such a weird nonchalantness to this that, you're going to, first off, rip the babies out of our care, talking about Indigenous communities, send them to boarding school, and then sometimes you get your kid back, sometimes you don't, and it's just casual and there's no explanation. I mean, there's something nefarious going on. So because of this, as I read out to you, this is why there were missing children. It was nonchalant, it was just very vague, and that's why Chief 𝘕𝘂𝘓 pushed for answers. Now, bringing it back here, this is a 2014 article that kind of sheds a little bit of light on the conditions of this school. And this reads from the cbc.ca. New documents shed light on residential school deaths, and this is talking about Kamloops. New documents released to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission may shed some light on the number of children in British Columbia who died in residential schools. The TRC has given over 4,000 documents, including death certificates for Aboriginal children aged 4 to 19 who died between 1917 and 1956 in British Columbia. It's unclear how many of them were residential school students. The commission previously reported that at least 4,100 children died in 130 schools across the country, but that number could grow as more federal and provincial documents are analyzed. Approximately 150,000 children attended residential schools in Canada from the 1870s until the mid-1990s. The church-run and government-supported schools operated under a deliberate policy of civilizing Aboriginal children. Now, that is a major part of Canadian history that unless you're like regular people, massive people are not. How come this isn't massively known? A lot of people know about the 𝘱𝘰𝘬𝘪𝘳𝘵. A lot of people know about that, but it's like, this is massive, like thousands of children. You're trying to civilize thousands of children. So that adds a little bit more context as to why they were ripped from families and just forced into boarding schools. It says here that they were trying to civilize Aboriginal children. The TRC's Missing Children Project has been working since 2008 to try to determine the number of children who went missing or died in residential schools across Canada. Now let's skip down here. Some of the documents released last year reveal that the federal government conducted nutritional and medical experiments on thousands of children who attended the residential schools. Those who survived were often subject to physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. In the 1990s, thousands of victims sued the churches that ran the schools and Canadian government. The $1.9 billion settlement in 2007 prompted an apology from Prime Minister Stephen Harper, followed by the creation of the commission in 2008. So far, only Ontario and British Columbia have released provincial documents to the commission. Sinclair is hoping other provinces will follow suit. The commission's mandate was recently extended until June 2015. So again, this being a 2014 article. So the reason why I wanted to bring all this to your attention is just that this has been a problem, and it's only because there was one person. It's strange that it is a chief who is pushing for answers, and then now you have the likes of Justin Trudeau, which I won't even give him any sort of platform to speak his apology. But why does it take a chief and not the government itself who knew about these experiments and these abuse claims? And they never pushed for a commission to uncover these children before this one chief Roseanne Casimir, pushed for this sort of excavation. It's strange. Now, again, I believe, in my opinion, that there was something nefarious going on. It just, the context aligns with that. There are some claims about visits to this particular school. As I stated at the very beginning, I'm not, I cannot go into that here. If that's something you want, maybe it can be an exclusive piece on, my NatlyDenise.tv. We'll see. But definitely not a safe place here to put that sort of content. But there are some claims out there that might insinuate that there were particular operations. Again, there isn't a lot of concreteness to that. So again, there's only so much that I can cover. Now, we'll continue to keep our eyes on this particular story. I definitely would like to observe the sort of analytics that they provide on these 215 bodies that they recovered. Ooh, just dropped my phone. That they just recovered. So we'll take a peek, and we'll keep our eyes on this. And again, if you have more resources and more claims and statements, please post those in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for your attention to this. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting my channel. Please like, share, subscribe. A lot of people don't really talk about stuff like this, but it is very, very important. Also, if it is on your heart and if you can, this is what I do. And I depend on, crowdfunding. And so if you are able to, and it's on your heart, please go to natlydenise.com/donate. That is how I eat and pay my rent. So anything helps whatsoever. Thank you again for supporting this, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.